Hey, ladies. Welcome to Podblivion. I'm Void, and this is Cassie.
Hello.
My sister. This is the show where I do a bit of gaming in the background while we just talk about things, and we just kind of like pop off.
Yeah.
Apparently. We've been actually on a bit of a roll these past few episodes, talking about just really engaged in these interesting conversations. And we just finished talking about shows, I believe.
Yeah, that went for a while.
That did go for a while, honestly. Was that like 2 episodes of that?
It might have been.
Damn.
I don't know.
I didn't even talk about the movies I've seen, but honestly, I don't think you see movies a whole lot.
Yeah, I think shows are more interesting.
Yeah. I just saw like 2 crime shows, that's it. I saw,
Do you mean movies, not shows? You said 2 crime shows.
Oh, sorry. 2 crime movies.
Okay.
I was saying a True Detective, I guess. That's why I said crime shows. 2 crime movies. One is The Nice Guys, which is actually a bit of a comedy.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's actually really good. It's
Okay.
It's Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe.
Okay.
Russell Crowe was in Gladiator.
Pretty sure I've heard of that.
Yeah, very funny. Actually, yeah, really historical. I ended up laughing out loud quite a bit with that one.
Okay.
Takes place in the 70s, was released in like 2017, if I remember correctly. And then the other one I saw was Con Air, which is a classic action movie with a bit of humor to it, starring Nicolas Cage.
Okay, I have not heard of that one.
He's got like long hair in it. You may have seen a meme of him with long hair and like going like this.
Maybe. That
like stepping out of like in front of a bus or something.
Yeah, that seems...
That's Con Air.
Okay.
It's really good. Oh, it's one of the... Oh, wait, no, I gotta climb the tree.
Yeah, you just gotta climb it. Just get that korok.
Yeah, get that korok.
Get it.
Get that motherfucker. All right, so now that we've gotten all the other conversation topics out of the way for today, because you, viewer, may have had to wait a whole week, but we have recorded literally 4 of these going on 5 in a row in one sitting. Well, not one sitting, but one session.
Yeah.
One day. And to my surprise, Cassie actually finished the next story arc of Judge Dredd, which is a comic that we kind of started our own little book club on, much to my surprise and shock. And so Volume 2 has 2 major story arcs, the first of which is The Cursed Earth, or there may be a longer title to it, like Judge Dredd Brings Law to the Cursed Earth, something like that.
Yeah, it's that.
Which he didn't really, in the grand scheme of things.
No, he was kind of like, we'll deal with it later.
Yeah, we'll deal with it later. We'll send guys back there to deal with that later.
He's like, we got a mission.
But yeah, so I know when we were talking about Volume 1, and I was talking about like that one thing that happens, that one line in the Robot Wars, where I was like, oh yeah, this is something special. Well, the Cursed Earth was actually that. It was like, this is actually good.
Yeah.
This is actually really good.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there was some goofy shit that happened along the way. Well, not gonna lie, you know, like the whole reason that you started reading this in the first place, the corporate mascot's getting shoehorned into that one really weird story.
Yeah.
Which was bizarre. We could start there. But I mean, first of all, I will preface this by saying the whole point of Judge Dredd and the Cursed Earth is he's got to deliver a vaccine to another megacity. I mean, people might not even know what we're talking about if you don't even like if you weren't even here for the whole thing where I explained to Judge Dredd. If not, go watch that episode. It's like episode 3 or something, 4.
Maybe. I don't know.
If you want to know what Judge Dredd is about, I'm not going to go over it again, but he's got to deliver a vaccine to basically save the world, essentially.
Right.
But since he's got to go by land, because there's apparently a deadly debris field just floating a mile above everything.
Well, okay. I mean, you can finish your summary of what this story arc is and why he's got to do it, but I actually had a question regarding that.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
What? No, I mean, that's basically it. He's just got to go by land across the entire country of the, what is, well, I guess it's still the United States of America, but it's been divided into 3 megacities that are like pretty much just crammed onto the edges of the landmass. He's got to go from Megacity 1, which is basically the entire East Coast, to Mega City 2, which is the entire West
California,
Coast.
basically.
Yeah, basically California.
Yeah.
And along the way, a lot of crazy shit happens.
Yeah. So, first of all, I wanted to clarify something. So I had a question related to that. So the reason they're traveling by land, I went back because I started reading the story and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm confused. I was like, why does he have to travel by land again? I went back and apparently the reasoning is that the airports on the West Coast are being controlled by mutants. So basically the vaccine is there was a disease.
Right.
And the disease is causing people to become mutants, and they're like...
Basically a zombie apocalypse in the making.
Yeah, it's like a zombie apocalypse, but like cannibalism kind of deal. Like, so I was very confused because from my understanding, the reason why he had to go by land was because the airports were being controlled by mutants. But
Right.
then I'm like, well, wait, why can't he just still fly? Because the dudes that originally tried to fly basically flew, but then just like couldn't land at the airport. Why couldn't he land somewhere else?
So get this, so there's this terrible like debris field, right? That's floating above the earth. It's like a mile up.
Yeah.
Which I still don't understand how it happened. But there's a breach. There just happens to be the only breaches in this debris field are above the airports.
That's so stupid.
I know it's a little stupid. It's a bit of a, I mean, because like you have something set in the future.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily dystopian. Like you still have access to all this high tech stuff.
Right.
And there are definitely ways to circumvent an issue like that. So they had to make something like that up so it could be a whole thing.
Okay. Because I was not I was very confused. I was like, why couldn't you just like fly and then land somewhere else that's not the airport? Like I was so confused.
Yeah. It's a little weird.
I did not, I just must have missed that part, or I did not understand that.
That was basically just like, we need a reason. We can't just like have it be easy for him and have him solve it in one issue. We want this to be a whole adventure.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. I mean, and obviously, I figured there was probably some sort of stupid reason like that to have it be a whole adventure, because obviously we can't have the logical thing. But
yeah.
I was so confused. I was like, what the hell?
It's for the sake of the comic. It's for comic's sake.
Yeah, I figured it was at the end of the day, but I was like, did they explain a reason for that?
And they did, yeah.
Okay, I just missed that part. Okay, first of all, the first thing I want to talk about is the fucking death belt.
Yes, I forgot I had a name. Yes, the death belt.
It's called a death belt.
Yeah, so when the nuclear winds propelled debris a mile high into the air?
Yes.
How the fuck does that work?
I don't know.
I don't think they understood what nuclear devastation does.
Right.
This was Cold War era, so they would have to at least know what it did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But
I guess they're basically implying that because there was a nuclear war and everything is a wasteland, everything is gonna be fucked, so therefore the weather is fucked.
So I was confused with the death belt, but the flying rats is where I draw the fucking line.
Dude, I was like, this is some fucking Sharknado shit.
Okay, sorry, not flying. Technically, they glide. It's falling with style.
No, it was gliding, but it was also riding the rocks and riding the debris.
And they just sit up there and they become ravenous and mutated, and then they go whoosh. They just like a fucking like locust swarm, but with rats. Just fucking pelting buildings and chewing their way through wood like.
I was like, what the hell is this shit? What is going on? I was like, this is freaking insane.
That was just the beginning of the insanity. That's like the first thing that happens, right?
It is like one of the very first
they find like
things.
these like cultists out in the like on the edge of the of like the first stop along the way. There's just these guys sacrificing people, and then the rats.
Yeah.
Then they have like a name for them. Like, was there like a special name they had for those types of rats?
I forget.
Like just the the death rats or something like that.
Yeah, it might have been death rats.
Or like the crazy fucko rats, I don't know.
Also, the fact that the solution at the end of that mini story was Judge Dredd was like, the rats are attracted to the siren, which you've been fucking putting off for years, so just don't have a siren and it won't come to your stupid ass town. I'm like, these motherfucking idiots! They've been dealing with these death rats for years.
It was a very like hodunk cultist kind of place. Of course, they're not going to think about that.
They put on the siren to warn the people that the rats are coming, but then the rats are literally attracted to the siren noise, and that's why they specifically go to that town as opposed to dispersing to other places. And Judge Dredd just like knows this, obviously, because why not? But the people have been dealing with this for years, and they haven't been able to figure that out.
Every time I think back to that one story, I just think of just like a guy just like ringing a siren and then just like in one frame pelted by rats.
Shit.
just like a sandstorm of rats, just like like storm level speeds of rats just pelting a building. That is not like that is actually accurate. That is actually what happened. Like to the people who are listening to this, that is actually what happened. That is actually an accurate description of this story in this larger story arc. Just rats pelting everything.
And these motherfucking idiots are just leading the rats to them this whole time and didn't know.
Oh my god.
I'm like, what the hell, dude?
I forget if it was in the same story, but didn't they also establish the presence of psychic powers?
That was I don't know if that was the same story, a different story, but yes, they did.
There was a kid who had just psychic abilities from being out in the wasteland.
Yeah.
Here's the cool thing. That actually becomes more of a thing later on.
Really? I
Yes.
was hoping it would.
That is actually,
I was
yeah.
like, this is so cool.
That is actually a not just like written off as a one-off. Like psychic powers are actually a thing.
Yay.
In the Judge Dredd universe.
Okay.
Because of, it's like mutation gone right. That's what they describe it as. Mutation gone fantastically.
Right. I mean, if you're gonna get radiation,
might as well get some cool shit out of it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my thought.
You either get terrible warts and deformations, or you get superpowers.
Right. Well, I mean, who says that radiation always has to be bad? Because
right. I mean, that's how most that's a lot of how a lot of superheroes are made.
Yeah, exactly.
Radiation or something like that.
Right. So, I mean, I think of radiation as causing some sort of mutation and change.
Right.
It's not necessarily, I guess I think of it more in the terms of genetics. Of, you can have a mutation in genetics, but it's not necessarily bad.
Right.
Mutation does not inherently have a negative implication in genetics. It can be bad, but it can be good.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I think of the radiation in terms of just mutating people, good or bad. Whatever, just, it's just kind of luck of the draw at that point.
Get excited because that does, become more of a thing later on.
I was like, this is a one-off thing, but at the moment, anyway, but I was like, this is really cool.
And I can confirm that, I mean, I've said before that, everything through volumes 1 through 4 is sketchy if that's going to become a thing later on, but it survives until volume 5.
Really?
So, yes, I can confirm that it is definitely going to be a thing. It even made its way into one of the movies.
Really?
In a bit. It was a little more subtle.
Kind of touched on, but not really.
But the character in particular, it was not a very strong version of it, but it was still useful.
Okay.
So, yes, it is a thing. It is definitely a thing.
That excites me because I was like, this is really cool. They gotta continue it.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
That's awesome.
I remember that from the earlier stories.
Yeah.
What else was there? I mean, there's the glaring story of the Burger Wars.
Can we wait to get to that? Because I have another story.
All right.
I want to touch on.
Okay.
The story of the what they were calling vampire robots.
Right. That's right. Because that actually establishes what happened in the past. That's actually really important. Yes.
That was a very interesting story to me as well.
And I think that world building setup that kind of origin story for the whole world does survive to some degree in later issues, later volumes.
Yeah, because they keep referencing. I mean, well, I guess it's different to reference it within the cursed Earth.
The cursed Earth. Earth.
I mean, I guess it's different to reference it within the storyline, the story arc itself in the same volume versus referencing it again in a different volume in the future. So, but I mean, they kept referencing it throughout, which was nice, just for consistency. But, so basically, a terrible war happened, and it caused the cursed Earth. And the very last president of the United States is the one that basically, like, dictated all of this,
He was just a terrible guy.
He, like, signed off on it happening, essentially. And so, for his war crimes, he was sentenced to suspended animation.
Yes.
Yeah. And then...
Indefinite.
There was that whole storyline of basically there are these robots that... It created the myth of vampires, because these robots were basically trying to keep the last living president alive in suspended animation.
By putting blood into the tank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I actually had a question about suspended animation. Can he feel time passing?
I don't think he can, which kind of makes you wonder how effective of a punishment that is.
That's exactly my thought.
Like, but I guess that's why he ended up with the fate he did in that story, because he was brought out of it, and then Judge Dredd was like, well, I mean, you know what? I think you should just live the rest of your life in the Earth you created, the United States you created. That would be a better punishment.
Right. Like, what's the point of 100 years? I think that was his punishment. 100 years of suspended animation if you don't have to, like, deal with the repercussions of your actions.
Right. It was not indefinite. That's right.
Yeah, I think it was 100 years, and then they were going to bring him out of it. But, like, realistically, I think it would be kind of cool if you could, like, pause yourself in time and then know what's going on 100 years from now.
Yeah.
And you're, like, not aging because it's suspended animation. But, like,
No,
I was
agree.
thinking about it. I'm like, if it's anything like sleeping, basically, where you can't sense time passing, then, like, why would that be a punishment?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I guess that was just to set up, like, bringing him out of that, and then,
Right.
And also just an excuse to bring that up in that particular issue, just to lay that down, like, oh yeah, we got to establish, like, how we got here, you know?
Right. But, like,
is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, being honest, I was kind of thinking about it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've heard of the debate of which is worse, a life sentence in jail or the death sentence.
Oh boy.
That might be
either get it over with or just spend the rest of your life imprisoned. Oof.
Right.
That is a tough one.
And that might... I've touched on that because I have, my criminology, and I have sort of a criminology background in college.
Yeah.
And so, like, some people say that a life sentence is worse because you actually have to rot in jail and, like, experience that time passing.
Yeah.
And, like, you have to accept that you can never leave jail for the rest of your life. You are not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Versus a death sentence is like you no longer have potential to live anymore. So I guess if you think you have any chance of getting out of prison, then a death sentence would be worse. But honestly, some people say that they would prefer, like, if they were wronged and the person is getting some sort of sentence like life in prison, they'd prefer that their wrongdoer is rotting in prison for the rest of their life, as opposed to being put to death, because being put to death, ultimately, it's not going to feel good for the victim. Like, you never really get any sort of satisfaction, and then it's just over. So it's like, they don't really get to experience a punishment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, honestly, I would say that rotting in jail is the more effective and worse punishment for the person that is being punished.
I would say so too, being honest.
Because Yeah, I mean, God, I mean, I would hate the idea of all that time being wasted.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, I guess it depends on the type of jail, because some jails are worse than others. You can get certain better amenities. There's a whole sort of economy and like life system in jail. So I guess it just kind of depends on which jail you're in. And you can kind of create your own life within jail, which is, I know, interesting.
Oh yeah, you should watch The Shawshank Redemption. It kind of like that's like a heavy theme about like regarding that movie, like life within jail.
Yeah.
And the effects it has on a person. Not based on a true story, but it is a really good. I think it's based on a book, but yeah, really good movie.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, I just that was something I was thinking about of like I feel like suspended animation going back to Judge Dredd is just not. It's not a good punishment,
But we got some cool world-building backstory out of it, so...
Yeah, for sure. But I found it funny that the guy was like, please, he was like begging, don't put me in suspended animation again, please, it's so bad. And I'm like, well...
Yo, work the fields!
Yeah, I'm like, could you not, like, feel... Like, if you were basically asleep, but you could feel time passing, that would suck.
It would suck.
And you can't, like, move around and actually do stuff. Like, I feel like I'd rather... Like, if it was between rotting in prison, but you are able to move around and do stuff, versus you're rotting in prison, but let's say you're just, like, literally confined to a chair and can't move. Like, I'd rather be able to move around.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
For sure.
So, yeah, that was just interesting. By the way, I wanted to mention... All of Volume 1 for me was in black and white.
Yeah, not it wasn't for me, because I got the in-color version.
Right. Volume 2, color.
Oh, great.
Other than, like, one story at the moment, but most of it was in color, and I'm loving the color.
Yes.
Like, it's easier to tell what's going on.
Exactly.
It's more entertaining and visually appealing.
Yes.
But mainly just, like, for story purposes of being able to tell what's happening within the comic, loving the color.
Yes.
And speaking of, I was really fucking sad because suddenly it switched back to black and white.
For the Burger War?
For Burger War.
Yeah, it was black and white for me, too.
I was like, wah! That sounded like some sort of, like, Waluigi scream.
It sounded like more like a rabbit, like... You remember like Raymond Raven Rabbids?
Oh yeah.
They go like that.
But yeah, I was very sad because I was loving the black and white. Or no, not black and white. I was loving the color, hating the black and white. I was glad it switched back. I was glad it wasn't permanently in black and white after the Burger War. But yeah, I was very sad that for the Burger War, it was in black and white. Let's talk Burger War.
Yes, so this was a very what the fuck kind of story, because it was basically just corporate placement. It was basically advertising. I mean, it was really entertaining.
Yeah.
But it was just like Ronald McDonald?
Yeah.
What? And suddenly Ronald McDonald and the Burger King.
Right.
It was just so weird, and I don't think that ever happens again in Judge Dredd, but it was just like, I was like, what am I reading?
Right.
So yeah, like the whole thing behind that is, they're like about halfway through the country, already by this point, and in smack dab in the middle, like between, two states, they come to a town called...
In between.
Yeah, in between. Just in between. And it's like, what's in between? Well, McDonald's City and Burger King City, apparently.
Yeah.
Because there's a burger war, and suddenly a war just shows up, and they get taken prisoner by Ronald McDonald and his gang. Well, it's not actually Ronald McDonald. I mean, I think I mentioned this when I was pitching this to you in a previous episode. But yeah, it's... a person dressed as Ronald McDonald, a person dressed as the Burger King, and they're just waging a burger war. And if you eat the other burger, you're put to death.
Right, and it's literally just like a power grab.
Yeah.
Like, there's no legitimate reason for this. They just want more power and land.
Yes, and they're like worshiping their food.
Yeah.
It's like if fast food just took over as an authority.
Yeah.
In a lawless part of the United States, because that's what happens.
Right. And I hate how the town of In-Between was literally just trying to mind their own fucking business.
That's the whole point of the town. They're just trying to mind their business.
They're literally trying to be Switzerland.
Yeah.
And Burger King and McDonald's won't fucking let them. They're like, you have to be one of us.
It's like, yeah, you're in the crosshairs, and you're joining one of us.
It's like, why can't you just have the town of In-Between be the border between your two territories, and you just like live in peace and, you know, reside. Kumbaya, like, and just be like, okay, like, we know that if we hit the town of In-Between and go past that, we're going into the other territory, so we should not do that.
Yeah.
Like, it would be the perfect marker for the border, and then everyone would be fine.
By the way, I low-key got hungry for McDonald's reading that that story. Just like, I mean, not gonna lie, the whole aspect of getting served, like, you get food for basically nothing. Mm-hmm. That's actually kind of cool. Like,
yeah.
You had like it was like a one big McDonald's like cafeteria.
Yeah.
And just seeing Judge Dredd in line for a McDonald's a McDonald's patty was just something else. Just
yeah.
Like, I guess I'm eating McDonald's.
Yeah.
And he did eat McDonald's.
Yes, he did. And in terms of food, I would say I like McDonald's better than Burger King.
I actually do too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Burger King.
Like, I definitely like McDonald's food better than Burger King. But in terms of the context of this story and the war, I would not want to pick a side because they're both trash.
Yeah, they're both very terrible. But the free food, though.
Well, I'm sure Burger King gave free food as well.
Yeah, but just like, I mean, that was like the one ideal part of it. Just like, your only job is to just eat their food.
Yeah.
You get free meals because that's your job, to eat their food. That's pretty cool.
So then I guess, well, I mean...
They didn't say you have to fight for them.
Right.
You like, there are plenty of citizens there that were just there to worship the burger.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to be soldiers.
So I guess if anything, I would choose the side of McDonald's. But the downside is that there was that one moment where a guy was working for them and didn't like properly clean a table or something,
right.
Or didn't do it fast
and
enough.
He just got fucking...
He got killed on the spot.
Yeah, just Ronald is like, yeah, you're dying.
It's like, I see a single crumb, dead. Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, like...
Well, not everyone was working. Some people were just there to eat food.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
So I guess just don't get a job and you're fine.
Yeah, don't get in a position where you could disappoint Ronald McDonald.
Yes.
And you'll be fine.
Exactly. Just eat their food, pig out, it's okay.
Pretty ideal aside from the death, but yeah.
Okay.
God.
Moving on.
What a whack story. And not the only whack one.
I want to talk about fucking dinosaurs.
Oh, didn't that happen after the mascot thing? With Jolly Green Giant?
Nope, it happened before.
It was in between, that's right.
Fucking dinosaurs happened after a burger war and before Jolly Green Giant.
Oh god.
So, I want to talk about dinosaurs. First of all, okay, I mean, okay, disregarding the whole, like, Satanus story arc, I want to, first of all, talk about, like, how they were talking about genetic engineering, and it gave major Jurassic Park vibes.
Right.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Because I looked it up. Jurassic Park came after Judge Dredd.
It did.
So, my question for you is there any chance that genetic engineering and creating dinosaurs is just a general theme of this kind of stuff?
Oh god.
Or was Jurassic Park created based off of this idea in Judge Dredd?
Wait, look up Jurassic Park novel.
Okay.
Because that was actually the inspiration for the movie.
Okay.
That may have already been a thing by that point, but if not, that's gonna be fucking bananas.
Yeah, because I was like, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg, which came first. Kind of deal.
Yeah, and also just to summarize this particular story, it's basically they're just Judge Dredd and his jolly gang are just minding their own damn business, going about America, and then suddenly stampede of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
There's just a part of America where there are dinosaurs that are running free because there was a dinosaur theme park that was opened. Basically Jurassic Park, but then because the world ended, essentially, at least in the middle of the country, they got out.
Yeah, now they're just roaming.
Just fucking wild. Just Judge Dredd dealing with dinosaurs. Really cool.
It's a 1990 science fiction novel.
The novel was written in 1990?
Yeah. So Judge Dredd came before.
That's bananas! What?
Yeah. So that's my question. I'm like, if Judge Dredd came before Jurassic Park, is this just a general idea that was happening during that time? In, like, fiction?
Well, the only other instance I can think close to that like anything remotely like similar within like the vein of genetic science and playing God and all that shit is the island of Dr. Moreau, but that wasn't reviving anything. That was mutating men or making like animal hybrids of men. Mm-hmm. There's also The Fly, which originally which was in the original Fly was in black and white. I think we saw that together.
Yeah, we've seen it.
And basically the guy just hops in the teleporter, and there was a fly in the teleporter with him. So then his DNA merges with the fly. The fly just kind of gets absorbed into him, and then he becomes a fly man.
Yeah. So I guess genetic engineering and mutations might be like, because I also was like, okay, well, when was like genes and DNA and all that stuff like discovered? And I was like looking up that too.
Well, that had to be like sometime around the 50s, if not a little bit before, right? Right.
So I think the original like DNA discovery was.
We learned this in school, and now I'm forgetting like the timeline.
What?
I'm pretty sure we learned this in school.
Yeah.
Like when DNA was discovered.
So original like DNA stuff, we're talking like 1850 something.
Okay.
I think it's, and then the double helix DNA.
Right.
Which is how all
new
of
method,
the
new theory.
All of the like mutation stuff with double helix that was discovered around 1960.
Makes sense.
Let me.
As far as reviving long dead creatures goes, I can't think of anything predating this Judge Dredd story. Legitimately, can you find anything?
Yeah, I don't know. Hold on.
Surely there's something. Judge Dredd cannot be the first time someone thought of this.
Right, well, because that's what I'm saying. I'm like, if they just discovered the double helix for DNA and they were talking about the potential of genetic engineering, then maybe that was just a common theme in fiction around the time that people were kind of playing with, is my thought. But in terms of specifically related to bringing back the dinosaurs, I don't know. I'm like, did Jurassic Park literally steal it from Judge Dredd? Is that even possible?
No, it can't be. It can't be.
Because I was reading Judge Dredd and I was like, this is like Jurassic Park word for word. They literally had the scientists. They were incubating the eggs in like a little container.
No, I see what you're saying. It's not just the idea of bringing dinosaurs back. It's making a theme park out of it, and then they getting out, and it had, like you said, it had embryos in cold storage.
Yeah, they were saying they were injecting dinosaur eggs or dinosaur DNA into alligator.
Oh
eggs.
my god! It's just Jurassic Park word for word.
It's literally Jurassic Park.
What the hell?
Because didn't they say that they injected, I think for Jurassic Park, they said they injected dinosaur DNA into like chicken eggs or some sort of other.
It was toads, I think, for some of them.
Yeah, maybe it was different eggs, but they
used toad DNA to make up some of the DNA.
They combined current DNA.
Chicken eggs, toad DNA. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
They combined current they combined dinosaur DNA with current DNA of current live things and incubated it in an egg to create these dinosaurs in a lab. And they had like a little container for the eggs, and then they raised them and then put them in a park, and then they released, and they literally had little bubbles. They had little bubble cars for the people to go around. Just like Jurassic Park.
In the later movie, Jurassic World.
Yes.
That was like they had the sphere car or whatever.
The sphere cars.
It was basically basically just a moving bubble.
It wasn't like the humans and the dinosaurs were separated. They literally just had like a little car, and they were inside the enclosure in Jurassic Park, and it literally showed that in Judge Dredd.
You could be onto something here. Oh my god, this demands further research.
Like, I was like, this is literally Jurassic Park. Or I guess Jurassic Park is literally Judge Dredd.
I guess so.
Like, at this point.
God, wait, I don't even remember the name of the author that wrote the novel that Spielberg adapted into the screenplay.
Jurassic Park?
Yeah, like, who wrote that?
Michael Crichton.
Right. Okay, Michael Crichton.
So...
Dude, I really wonder now.
Like, it was way too scary parallels.
Okay, I'm hoping this is going to be a quick search. If you would, could you just Google, who was the first person to come up with the idea of a dinosaur theme park in fiction? Or something like that. I don't know if there's a better way you could word it. Or maybe, like, reviving dinosaurs for a theme park.
Okay.
If they say Jurassic Park, or if they say Michael Crichton, we're gonna be like, no.
Bullshit, yeah, exactly.
We know the truth.
The problem with Google searches...
Right.
...is that it's gonna pop up what's the most popular... in terms of information, and everything is coming up with Jurassic Park.
Interesting. Okay, try phrasing it like this. Was Michael Crichton's idea for Jurassic Park original?
Okay.
Maybe that'll get us what we need.
Okay, here's a AI overview. While the concept of bringing back dinosaurs was not entirely new, Michael Crichton's novel Jurassic Park was a groundbreaking exploration of the idea, and his story, while drawing on existing science, was original in its specific execution of themes. Here's a more detailed look. Crichton's initial idea. Crichton's initial idea for Jurassic Park came to him in the early 1980s, which this...
After that Judge Dredd story.
Because Judge Dredd was like literally 1979.
Yeah, or maybe even earlier.
Well, the first was
Volume
1977, so Volume 2 was 1978. Oh. We're talking 1978 when Judge Dredd came out for this.
He totally could have read this and been like, I could do better.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Because it says early 1980s as a screenplay featuring graduate student recreating
a pterodactyl. The title of this episode is going to be Michael Crichton Stole It. He stole it! Holy shit, man!
So, novelization and film adaptation. He later developed the story into the novel Jurassic Park, which was published in 1990. So he came up with the idea in early 1980s after Judge Dredd, published in 1990.
Yeah, you're putting that after Judge Dredd. You're putting that in there by yourself, right? That's not what it's saying.
Yeah, I'm putting that in there by myself because I'm just giving you the timeline of Judge Dredd came out, Volume 2,
right?
17. We're not God 17. 19. We're going back to the good old 1777.
1777.
So Judge Dredd Volume 2 came out in 1978. He came up with the ideas, so he claims, in early 1980s. Published in 1990.
Dude, that's
and was
wild.
Adapted by Steven Spielberg in 1993.
That is wild. Oh my god.
Okay, scientific inspiration. Ooh, okay. Crichton drew inspiration from the work of...
Wait, is it Crichton or Crichton?
I think it's... I don't know.
I've heard it pronounced Crichton.
Crichton?
Yeah.
Crichton? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whichever one. Drew inspiration from the work of paleobiologist George Poinar, who discovered that amber could preserve intracellular structures, which fueled the idea of cloning dinosaurs.
Okay, so, and when was that? I mean, I'm not saying that Judge Dredd was the very first one to come up with this, but when did that guy discover that? Just trying to get like a timeline of ideas.
Right. Hold on.
We are onto something here. I'm like riled up. Like, Michael Crichton, what the hell, man?
You stole it!
You stole from our boy!
Yeah! Got the idea from the work of paleobiologist George Poinar Jr. in 1982, when he was a professor of invertebrate pathology within the Department of Entomology at UC Berkeley. Poinar and his electron microscopist wife published a study describing their discovery that amber could preserve intracellular structures, such as nuclei and mitochondria, in an organism trapped inside. But he published that study in 1982.
So it boils down to, is the specific idea of cloning dinosaurs to make a theme park out of them. Is there any instance of that predates that Judge Dredd issue? And we haven't found anything.
No.
Oh my god.
And then the study that the author of Jurassic Park based his idea off of came out in 1982. So he probably came up with the ideas to make a book on it in after 1982.
Do me one more favor. Just in case you got the Google AI result for the book publication. No, he got the idea in 1982. So even if the book came out earlier, it's still...
No, so I'm saying the research study for the fact that dinosaur DNA can be preserved in amber, that came out in 1982. And then Michael Crichton came up with the idea about the Jurassic Park and everything. It would have been after 1982 based off of that research study.
They didn't have... I don't think they had amber. Did they use amber in the idea for the Judge Dredd story?
No.
Okay, so that was not in there, but everything else was.
Yes.
Dude.
So it would be Judge Dredd, 1978, the actual scientific research study, 1982, which would have been 4 years later, and then however many years after that, Jurassic Park came along, the novel. And then it was turned into a movie.
Holy shit. And we for sure cannot find another instance of a dinosaur theme park being used in fiction.
Not that I know of.
Oh
not
my
at
god.
the moment.
Michael Crichton, we are calling you out. I don't know if the guy's still alive, but we're calling you out regardless. If you're in your grave, roll in it.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? This is literally Jurassic Park.
I'm telling all my friends this. This is bananas.
It's wild.
I will never look at Jurassic Park the same way again. I mean, I still love Jurassic Park, don't get me wrong.
But, I love
holy
the idea
shit,
too.
man. God, it wasn't the first.
I don't think it was the first.
It stole it.
It stole it.
You know, it just goes to show that no ideas are, there is no such thing as an original idea.
Yeah.
Where we've got a finite pool of creativity. The only thing we can do is mix it up a little. But even then, there wasn't a whole lot of mixing up between Jurassic Park and the first thing that did it.
The only
Judge Dredd story.
The only difference is the amber, which is based off of the actual scientific research study that came out in 1982.
Yeah, that's the only element. That's the only major element that adds any difference.
Everything else was the same.
Oh my god, dude. Holy shit, my world has been blown open.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about this. I was like, no fucking way.
Okay, so we're at 44 minutes and we still haven't gotten through all the different stories. Dude, we gotta talk about Tweak.
Tweak, I love Tweak.
Tweak is the best!
Tweak is the best. I'm so glad that you agree.
Rock-eating, anteater-looking bro. He's just a bro. He's a fucking bro.
Right.
This alien... They established the existence of extraterrestrial life within this story arc.
Yep.
Which is also a thing by Volume 5.
Yay!
So, I didn't see anything like that in the movies, the two movies that they made, but I'm sure it's still like a thing in modern Judge Dredd, which is really cool that they've established space travel.
Yeah.
In this hardened America, but Tweak is this guy that just comes along.
He's like kind of like a little anteater looking.
Yeah, he basically looks like an anteater, but he's bipedal and he's got razor sharp claws that could kill a man.
Yeah.
But he's a little guy.
He's so cute.
I mean, quote unquote little, but yeah, he's great.
I mean, I think he's the size of a full human. But
yeah, I mean, but I like to call him a little guy.
Yeah.
And he is, in a twist of events towards the end, he's actually intelligent.
Highly intelligent.
And can speak. He teaches himself English like before the end of the story.
Well, so I actually figured it out. They said that this whole story arc of Cursed Earth took over a period of like 15 days.
He taught himself English in 15 days?
Yeah.
Like almost perfect English. Well, it wasn't perfect English, but it was like you could tell you understood what he was trying to say.
Well, also they didn't pick him up immediately, did they? He was a little later on.
So yeah, quicker than 15 days.
I think he was. I don't think he was present during Burger King, and Burger King would have been like halfway through. So in like
6 days, a week, or even less, he taught himself English.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude! He just sped run Duolingo.
Yeah.
My God.
Well then, I mean, there was that one moment when that one guy Spikes Harvey Rotten.
Oh, Spike's Harvey. Yeah, that's right. Spike's Harvey Rotten.
He was like, "Hey, look, Tweak, 1 + 1 = 2."
And he's like, "Good, Spikes, good."
And he was like, "Oh, that's so good, Spikes." And then literally just like
writes out a whole fucking equation, and Spike's like, "What the hell?"
It's like literally calculus. It's like advanced calculus that this guy is writing down.
Yeah, I would not be able to tell you what type of math that was.
Yeah,
I assume it was calculus because that's like the most advanced category of math I can name.
Yes, yeah. Well, I saw obviously it was mixed in with some other futuristic stuff that we wouldn't understand, but I saw the symbol for summation.
Oh,
the little like E looking.
Oh yeah, that thing, that goofy guy.
Yeah, that's summation. So I saw that, and that was in calculus. So I'm like, this is a mix of like some made up futuristic stuff and calculus.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But like, oh, also we gotta talk about Spike's Harvey Rotten. He's the other like secondary. He's the other secondary character that is there for most of it.
Yeah.
He's actually a character that they bring out of a Volume 1 story, which is pretty sweet. He's like this. He's a criminal. He's kind of a punk. But what I like about his character is that like he's not straight up rude.
Right.
You know, like because like he's trying to teach Tweak in that scene we were just talking about, and then instead of just being like, well, what I could do that, he's like, yo, this guy's actually smart.
Yeah.
he's actually like I feel like there's actually a lot more depth to him than was presented in like at face value, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. And also I wanted to mention when Judge Dredd originally was like, as my basically like co-pilot or just like my second in command for this specific journey that I have to go on, I want a criminal. I'm like, that is first Judge Dredd being someone that brings law and order. I was like, that is wild that he would even risk that.
I forget what his line of thinking was for that.
His line of thinking was that Spike's Harvey Rotten was the best biker.
Right. Okay.
He was but for the most part, they were on that like tank looking thing.
Damn, mad respect from Judge Dredd. He's like, you know, you might be a criminal, but I'm going to say how it is. You're the best at what you do.
Yeah. So I want nothing but the best. So I'm pulling you out of prison to go on this journey with me.
Yeah, I feel like there's also new levels to Judge Dredd that surfaced in this story. Like he's not just like every criminal is fucking scum and they should be like behind bars or serving a sentence or something. He's like,
right.
More of his fairness comes out.
Right, because if you're going based off of Volume 1, Judge Dredd, I was like, this is not something that he would do. He would he'd be like, let me just get the second best. I don't need a criminal. Like, it's not consistent with his character.
Right. Well, because you're seeing the character is becoming refined throughout the progression of these early volumes, and we're getting a better character as a result of it. But, dude... man, I don't want to skip ahead, but what else was there in Cursed Earth before the grand finale?
So there was basically that, the whole Jurassic Park thing that we went on.
That was pretty damn cool, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was the one-off Jolly Green Giant.
Oh, God, yeah. When they just stumbled across that farm that had just... the Jolly Green Giant in the flesh, and that was like the issue after the dinosaur story.
Yes.
It's like, we're back to this madness.
And it was just a one-off story, too. Like, at least with Satanus, there was like, with the story of the Satanus, which is basically the main dinosaur.
The dinosaur that they named,
Yeah, the dinosaur that they named that was vicious and was rampaging, and that's how we got all the Jurassic Park stories.
I like how they kind of like, for the narration of Satanus, like they kind of like take you inside his mind. Like,
yeah, that was interesting.
He's like, he had like a whole backstory. A goddamn T-Rex had a whole goddamn backstory.
Yes.
You don't see that in Jurassic Park.
Well, and then I loved, just going back to Satanus, I loved how in his backstory, he's like, oh yeah, this bitch, this hag of a mother. Like, he was like...
my mother's a hag, I'm gonna eat her.
Like, he was literally mouthing off on his mother. It's like, oh yeah, my mom taught me everything. This bitch, I'm gonna kill her. I want power.
Or it was essentially the narrator being like, the T-Rex thought his mom was a bitch.
Yeah, it was like, no, it was implying that Satanus thought that... Satanus thought that his mom was a hag and a bitch and was the leader of the pack, but he wanted to be the leader.
Right.
And he tried to take down his mom, but couldn't, and died. And then they were implying that, I guess, Satanus was a clone, because that's why he came back from the scientists.
Oh, it's so weird that he had, like, genetic memory of that detail. He was basically reincarnated, not just a clone. He was just reincarnated, essentially.
Pretty much, because I was very confused about his
T-Rex remembering something like that is just bananas.
Right, because we get the genetic mutation cloning raised by people, and then he escapes from the park. We get that story first, and then we get his further backstory of 65 million years ago when he was a child and was raised by his mother and was pack leader, and he wanted to be pack leader and died, and then was like, oh, now I have this second chance at life. Now I can be the most powerful, and I can
now
be
I
pack
am
leader.
the tyrant lizard.
Yes.
The king of the lizards.
So that was weird for me. I was like, wait, this is just like reincarnation? Like, just even more so than cloning?
Yeah.
Like, it was so weird.
It's like if it's kind of like the logic of Assassin's Creed, but instead of being able to tap into memories of the past, it's like your memory just carries forward into the future no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Yeah. But then right after Satanus, we got Jolly Green Giant. And it was just like a one-off story too, and it was just the most random fucking thing ever. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
It wasn't just him, it was like all these mascots I never even heard of that are since like dead.
Well, there's like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
No, it wasn't. Was it? I thought it was Alka-Seltzer. It was like an Alka-Seltzer kid.
No, but then there was that hold on.
Did they actually have the Pillsbury Doughboy?
It was like a brief moment where I'm pretty sure...
I forgot that, legitimately.
Hold on.
I got to go into this place. We are currently at 54 minutes, but you know what? I feel like if we're almost done with this conversation, we can make it go a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think we're wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Oh, the Michelin Man.
Yes, the Michelin Man. He was in there, and also the Alka-Seltzer mascot, which apparently I didn't even know they had a mascot. And
I was like, what is this?
Various other mascots that have probably been since forgotten.
Yeah, I other than the Michelin Man and Jolly Green Giant, I didn't recognize any of them.
Basically, a bunch of product placement mascots that are definitely American, because it's Judge Dredd. It takes place in America. That's the point.
Right.
And most of them, like more than half of them, are completely irrelevant now.
Yeah.
And the whole justification for it was that they're made of vegetables.
Yeah.
All of them.
And also, why the fuck do they feed on like human brain mush?
It was so cracked.
like the whole, like, why is everybody so murderous? And the guy that created these vegetable monsters are like, oh yeah, to keep them living and to like keep them alive, I have to feed them, like
human brains or something like that.
Human brains, and he was like gonna do brain surgery on Judge Dredd. God. Before Judge Dredd escaped. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I want my Jolly Green Giant to be a little smarter, so I'm gonna put slap your brain inside the Jolly Green. I'm gonna slap your brain inside the Jolly Green Giant. I swear to God. That's what he was like.
Well, and then the fact that after they escaped and ran away, just done.
It's done, yeah.
Just also, went off.
It's funny that the scientist kind of looked like Colonel Sanders.
Yes!
But they never actually talked about Colonel Sanders.
No, they did not.
So he just happened to look like that. Maybe they were leaning into that a bit with that.
They probably were leaning into it.
And yeah, so those issues were never printed again because of the copyright issues with that, which I think I explained that earlier. But just a fun fact to the viewers, the listeners, that it's just a very whack instance of Judge Dredd just being absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah. Okay, and then God. I think that was the last story that I wrote down before the final story. Before he finally got to Mega City 2. So
there wasn't anything else after those mascots?
There might have been, but nothing really notable that I read. Or nothing that I wrote down.
Maybe it was the Tweak story, I don't know.
Oh, it was the Tweak. It was the Tweak origin story after the mascots. Basically, he was explaining to Judge Dredd that he...
Oh, there was Las Vegas.
Oh, right, yeah. There was Las Vegas.
Las Vegas was basically a very corrupt place. I mean...
Right, it was like gambling and...
Yeah, I mean, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise,
But it's
surprise.
like, even the judges were corrupt.
Right.
And there was a six-fingered man that was like the chief judge there.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But
it was whack.
But basically, all of the judges weren't actually judges. They were just basically people that were a part of gangs.
They were mafia. They were basically mafia.
Yeah. They were just leaders of mafia. And they had that weird, like, some sort of, like, car race to see who could be the next Dredd. Like, which mafia leader could be the next... Or not Dredd, the next judge.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
But, like, honestly, all of that, I was like, after the fucking Jolly Green Giant shit, I'm like, whatever. Not notable.
Yeah,
That's more tame.
Barely remember that compared to the Jolly Green Giant stuff.
Yeah, so I think it was Las Vegas, which was way more tame, so it wasn't even notable to me. There was the Tweak. I loved Tweak, and they told the story of how humans went to his planet and...
Right, there's a backstory thing.
Yeah, there's a backstory
that took a few
thing
issues
for Tweak. Basically, humans went to his planet, and Tweak eats rocks.
Yes.
And on his planet, they have precious minerals like gold, diamonds, etc., but they use it for food. Well, Tweak apparently can foresee into the future.
That's apparently a thing he can do, yeah.
Yeah, and he was able to predict, oh, wait, yeah, so humans are greedy, whatever, let's just pretend let's just hide underground, because their home is underground.
Right.
Pretend there's no land here, and the humans will go home. Well, Tweak's children wandered out.
Yeah, dumb little kids.
And did not listen to their father, Tweak being the leader of this planet, and got captured. And then the mom got captured too because she was running after her children. And so Tweak was like, okay, I have to choose between my planet and my family, and ultimately chose going with his family. So basically the humans captured them and took them back to Earth. But then Tweak had to pretend to be dumb so that the humans would never discover that he was intelligent and go back to his planet.
Right.
So that, and then they were sold into slavery.
Yeah, his wife and his kids, or his mate, I guess. They didn't have marriage.
Yeah.
And then they end up getting killed by humans.
Yep.
And what I really admire about Tweak, he's just too damn good for us.
Yeah.
He's just like, despite everything that humanity does to him, he does not hold that big a grudge.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's not like kill the humans, he's just like, humans do bad things, and I understand that not all humans are bad, but I don't hate humans. I just understand their nature.
But God, the willpower that Tweak would have in order to undergo all of that torture and all of the tests that the humans were doing on him to see if he was smart or not.
Yeah.
And he just like held out and played dumb the whole time.
God.
And like all of the hardships of like, I'm gonna play dumb, I'm not gonna be smart. If I was smart, I could get out of all this torture and tests and being sold into slavery, but he just didn't do that to protect his planet.
Yeah, because then they'd go back and they'd find the resources and they'd strip the planet dry.
Yes.
There'd be someone that would come along and do that. Maybe not the first people, but there would be someone.
Yeah, and then it would be full of diseases and pollution for his own planet, so he just held out. And lost his family, which is so sad.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if he comes back. I really want him to come back.
I want him to come back too.
He's such a good guy. He's just the best.
And I'm glad he didn't die in that last story.
I was worried he was gonna die.
I
yeah.
thought he was too. I was like, no, don't kill off Tweak.
Whew, but they didn't, so.
I don't know how he made it. They just kind of, he kind of disappeared in a dust storm, and then they just magically brought him back. And I'm like, okay.
And I like how he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna tell Spike what he wants to hear.
Yeah.
Because Spike, spoiler alert,
You're right.
dies.
Yeah. I was kind of shocked considering how big of a character he became.
Right?
But to be fair, I guess he had no purpose after that story arc.
He died for his goddamn country.
He did.
I mean, he wouldn't admit it, but he did. And yeah, he died a hero. It was incredible. Like this guy who was just like a one-off punk in a previous story ends up just doing the most heroic thing that a non-Judge character had done up until that point in Judge Dredd.
Right.
Just like, fuck it. Just like goes out there. They're facing an army of robots that were just buried under the dirt. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, actually kind of felt a bit of like terror in like in the buildup of that. Like, just like there's like this buildup to that final battle, and then just like the guys coming out of the ground, and I was like, I kind of felt a little bit of terror.
Right.
It was like this like cheesy, like corny, like it's known for these cheesy corny things that happen. It's really goofy, but then, oh my god,
very much so zombie vibes.
Yeah, but
coming out of
relentless
ground.
robots.
Yeah.
With guns.
Yeah.
And I knew that someone was dying, and well, between Tweak and Spikes, I'm glad it was Spikes, but still, I salute you, Spikes. You will not be forgotten. What a bro. What a man.
Right. Yep.
What a hero.
All things considered, I kind of wish, like, once they got the vaccine to Mega City 2, I kind of wish there was a story arc on how they dispersed that, how they saved Mega City 2. They kind of just brushed over it.
It's all just the reader's assumption.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, you know, we don't really have to like spell it out for you how we did this.
Right.
And yeah, I guess at that point they just want to move on to the next big story.
Yeah.
After doing a few little smaller issues. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just the first really great story.
Yeah, I liked it.
And yeah, it just really draws you in. And I'm really surprised at how this story, being as old as it was, like really old comic, and despite the way some of the stories are, it just has this quality that draws you in. Mm-hmm. It's really great. I love it. And that being said, the next story arc is actually better.
Are you serious?
I am not joking.
Holy.
Whatever you felt during that story, however sucked in you think you were, like, you're like, reading this, you're like, this is absolute literature.
Yeah.
This is great. Like, not cinema, just, this is absolute literature. This is great. I love this.
Well,
you're going to be feeling that more for the next big story arc.
you could argue that Judge Dredd is cinema because apparently it was adapted into cinema by somebody else.
Yeah, well, for all intents and purposes, it's mainly literature.
Yeah.
It's absolute literature. Absolute comics.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm just going to tease the title. The Day the Law Died. It's fucking great.
That sounds exciting.
There's a few, like, what the fuck, this is crazy things that happen, but in more of a continuity.
Okay.
In more of a, like, within the...
It's not the one-off Jolly Green Giant and then never
it's
again.
Like, there's, like, what the fuck things that happen, but it's not, like, it doesn't feel as off track.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Okay.
Fucking God, this is one thing that happens. It's just like, what the fuck?
You can't spoil it.
I can't spoil it.
You can't.
I can't. And you have a few, like, smaller stories to get through before that.
Yeah.
You have to skip over that one story, remember?
Yeah, I need specific pages.
Yeah, I will tell you the page that it ends on.
After we finish recording, because I'm on page 163 right now, because that's when Cursed Earth ended. I need to know what pages I need to reach to, then what I need to skip to, and then when I need to, like, go back and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I will give you all those deets.
I need all the info so I can read it in order.
Okay. Well, I guess that's the whole spiel then.
I think that's it.
Welcome to Judge Dredd. This is where it actually, like, is going. This is where it actually we're not just like robots praising Hitler. We're actually like story, writing.
Right. I feel so just, like, energized from the whole Jurassic Park.
Michael crying!
Like, I feel so, like, there's so much energy in me right now that I need to release. 'Cause, like, that whole thing.
Okay, I gotta do the outro. We're 6 minutes over what we established was going to be the max. So, thank you everyone so much for watching. If you loved this longer than usual episode, and you're at the end right now, please leave a like, show your support, show if you really love, like, what we were talking about, and the energy, the absolute vibes.
To be fair, I think Judge Dredd is probably going to be longer episodes.
Probably, yeah.
Because that wasn't even a whole volume. That was just one story arc.
Yeah.
In an hour.
You're like a little over halfway. Basically halfway. You're only halfway through this volume, and there's still a whole nother story arc.
But for comparison, we did all of volume 1 in like an hour and 15 minutes the first time around.
Yeah.
And now we're half of volume 2. And
yeah. You know what? Good call. Stopping after that first story arc in volume 2. God. Okay, so I don't think the next story arc is as long.
Okay.
Maybe. But it's gonna feel as long, and, like, in a good way.
Okay.
I'm gonna put on this so my outro doesn't get interrupted. I'm gonna make this tree go bye-bye. Alright, so thank you. Leave a like, smack that like button. Subscribe if you want more of this, or also if you want to check out the other stuff that I just do by myself. I do streams, I do edited videos. Eventually, probably gonna be doing more Let's Plays with Cassie, because we got the one that's not out yet all the way. I still gotta edit it, but got more plans with her in the future. And hit that notification bell if you would. That would be very epic of you. Thank you so much. And yeah, until next time.
Bye.
How you timed that to the lightning.
That was perfect.
Yeah, we will see you guys in, well, for you it'll be a week. For us,
who knows when.
Actually longer for us.
Yeah.
But, oh, hi. Yeah, don't interrupt my outro. Idiot.
Bitch.
Alright, see you guys.